Welcome back to the workshop. I've been trying to think of a birthday present for my wife, and as you know, being a carpenter, everything has to be handmade, right? Well, she's been listening to music at night quite a bit lately, so I thought it'd be really convenient for her to have a Bluetooth speaker with a wireless charger for her phone. That way she can just set her phone on top, her phone didn't have to be playing music all night. And I thought it would work out really nicely. Well, this thing turned out awesome and she loves it. So without further ado, let's get to work. The first step was to make the frame for the speaker. I could have just made the whole thing out of walnut, but that's kind of boring. So I ripped strips of walnut, padauk, and maple to make this thing a little fancier. Alright, so while the wood is drying, I'm going to work on figuring out these electronics. So I've got my speakers, my power adapter, hidden charger, Bluetooth amplifier, and some wire. So the goal is to power the amplifier and the speaker off of just this without any extra inputs. So it's going to involve stripping some wires, probably some soldering, so let's do it. Alright, that should maybe work. This is on. And it's on! It's on! Why no charge? Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the charger to work with the power adapter. The light turned on, but it wouldn't charge the phone. Plus 10 points to you if you know what song that was. After the glue dried, I planed the panel to the final thickness. Alright, so we're going to use mitered corners to assemble this box, but to wait for this car to drive by. But to make sure that the grain is flowing continuously throughout the box, I've got two different stop blocks set up so I can get my sides and top and bottom both matching the same length. So I'm going to start with the side, run it through against this stop block, and swap it out. That's the length I need for the top. Cars. That's the length I need for the top. And then once I cut the top out, just swap it back. Good to go for the next side, and then the bottom. You also want to make sure you start with the sides, top, side, bottom, because no one's ever going to see the bottom. So that one edge that doesn't match up perfectly won't matter. Alright, let's cut some stuff out. I'm not good at calculating what measurement this needs to be to cut this perfectly. So we're going to start wide and just sneak up on it, and then we'll be good to go to cut out the other side and the other piece the same size. Then we'll do the same thing for the top and bottom. I thought the frame was missing a little something, so I added a 30-degree bevel to the front of each panel to give it some character. Next up, it was time to set up the hidden charger. I measured where the phone would go and then used the 2p10 trick to clamp the board down so I could route it.
Then I set up stop blocks and routed away the recess for the phone. Then it was time to route away the recess for the hidden charger.
So if you saw my floating nightstand video, then you know what I'm about to do. But just in case you missed it, basically, you extend the micro adjust on the router as far out as it'll go. Then you set it to the depth of the hole you just drilled, lock it down, and you lock the micro adjust. Alright, so we're gonna route out the circle and test the charger. If it works, perfect, but if not, and it probably won't, you just tighten the micro adjust a little bit, take another pass, test it again, and keep doing it, tightening the micro adjust each time until the charger works through the wood. That way you sneak up on it, you don't have to be super precise with your initial measurement, and it's just less of a headache, at least for me anyways. So let's try this out. First time go! Woo!
I added a rabbet for the back panel next. I should have done this before I cut the front bevel, but it still worked out. Then I lined up all the pieces, used some painter's tape to hold them together, flipped it over, added some glue, and glued everything together. I added some clamps just to make sure it stayed square while the glue dried. Miters aren't the strongest joints in the world, so I added some splines to reinforce it. After cutting the slots, I ripped a 1/8 strip of walnut and cut it to length for the actual splines. Then I glued them in and wiped off the squeeze out.
So I need 4-inch holes for the speakers, but I don't have a 4-inch hole maker. So to do that, we're gonna make a template out of MDF, but we're gonna use a cool trick using the router table. So we're gonna start off with an 1.5-inch portion bit. I got a 1/2-inch rabbet bit in the router. And so we're gonna take our hole that we just drilled, run the bearing on there, and it'll expand this hole 1/2 inch. Then we'll just flip it over. We'll do it again and again until we get to 4 inches. And then we'll take a flush trim bit and finish out the circle. We should be good to go.
As you can see from the insane amount of dust flying in my face, you definitely want to wear a mask when you're routing MDF. Next, I made the front panel. I want the size to be exact, so it was 7 trips back and forth from the saw to get it perfect. Then I laid out where the speaker holes needed to go and drilled a hole to start the router bit in. And now you get to see what happens when you route the wrong direction.
almost lost my fingers. Took the rest of the day off. Had to recover. But I got my next piece cut. This time I'm going to resaw it so I can use it for the back panel also. So it was kind of a good thing this happened. This time, instead of trying to route that much of it away, that was stupid, I'm going to cut out most of the circle with the jigsaw and then finish it with the flush trim bit. So, should be safe this time.
It's amazing what happens when you do things right. Next, I added a chamfer to the front of the holes to make the transition from wood to speaker nicer. I still had a little bit of PTSD from what I'm now calling the incident, so I did this in several passes. I did a little bit of hand sanding to clean up the burn marks from the router bit, and then I did final sanding since it was going to be hard to get in there once it was glued and placed. I also attached the speakers to make sure everything lined up correctly.
There we go.
I trimmed the splines and then did the rest of the final sanding. Then I glued in the face frame. Next, it was time to work on the back panel. I drilled a hole in each corner of the frame, did the same thing for the back panel. I also drilled all the way through on one edge of the back panel so it'd be easy to pry open once it was installed. Once all the holes were drilled, I added a magnet into each recess and secured it with some more super glue. Then it was time for a little boiled linseed oil to make this thing really shine.
Everything's set. Now we just need to solder the wires to the speakers, plug everything in, and we're good to go.
I drilled a hole for the volume knob and then secured the Bluetooth receiver with some more super glue. The power adapter didn't quite fit inside the case, so I removed the shell from the power adapter and put it in place. Then I measured where the power cord would attach and cut a slot on the back panel for it. Look at that. There were these little tabby things on the side of the plug that were interfering with the back panel, but I just ground them off with the Dremel and I was good to go. As I said before, I wasn't able to get the USB to work with the power adapter, so I cut a hole for the USB cord to go through and sandwiched the back panel between the cord that goes to the charger and an extension cord. Not my original intention, but it worked out quite nicely. Once everything was installed, I added a couple coats of wipe-on poly to protect it, and I was done. Thanks for watching. I'm really happy with how this turned out. My wife just loves it. I didn't use the highest quality speakers on this since we just use it at night and at low volume, so it doesn't have to be loud. But if you want to make one that can be loud, I really recommend that you get higher quality speakers because you get what you pay for. And speaking of getting what you pay for, I have plans for sale on my website if you want to build this yourself. And these aren't some dinky little plans, check this out. I have tools and material lists, measurements, 3D models, and step-by-step instructions with pictures. So if you want to build this yourself or just want to support the channel, this is a great way to do so. Thanks again for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell. Check out one of these videos up here, and I'll see you on the next one.